In 1980, the average yearly cost to attend a private college was just over $10,000. Today, that same year will cost you nearly 4 times at just under $40,000. So what's the reason behind such a massive increase? Well, there's a lot of factors which contribute to this mess. The majority of your college tuition pays for things like salaries and campus facilities. With the rising demand for college degrees, it's not easier for them to hire well-educated and experienced professors. A lot of times, these potential professors can be people working in top of their industry, making far more money than what these colleges can ever pay them. And as demand for certain fields of study change over the years, colleges have to quickly adapt and pay a pretty penny for their lineup of quality teaching staff, which means on average, the salary of a college professor has now increased to about $150,000, with some making a lot more. $150,000 might seem fair as they end up teaching a lot of students at a time, but we forget that these professors are just the tip of the iceberg, as colleges have turned into massive businesses providing services to tens of millions of students every year. There are various departments from security, catering, admin staff, general maintenance, and a lot more, which keep this industry running by employing about 3 million Americans. That's a lot of money spent in salaries, but it's not nearly close to what they spend on facilities. See, college in our culture has become a place where people spend 4 years having fun and exploring life while also learning along the way. So the better a college can fit into this new cultural image, the more students they will attract. And they do that by investing massive amounts of money into new buildings and facilities to win this popularity contest. So it's not uncommon for a college campus to not only have libraries and labs, but also have massive fitness centers, stadiums, steakhouses, host concerts, and even get celebrity guests. They spend all this money and pass on the bill to us in the form of increased fees. And they don't really care because colleges at this point know that any student can pay these ridiculous amounts by taking student loans. Depending on the type of college, they can get money from donations, government grants, and the obvious fees paid by the students. The government grants used to cover a decent amount of these college expenses, but as more and more people starting to actually go to college, that limited amount of grant money just wasn't enough to cover all the expenses anymore. That created a massive gap, a gap which colleges fill by increasing tuition fees. And a good chunk of this fees does come from student loans nowadays. Before the 50s and 60s, student loans weren't really a thing, but since then the finance industry has adapted to this concept of student loans and made it more easier than ever to go into debt. There is no other situation where an 18-year-old with no credit and no income can finance anything for hundreds of thousands of dollars other than student loans. They made this so normal that close to 44 million of us have student loans now, adding up to $1.6 trillion. And it didn't take colleges long to figure out that even if they keep on increasing tuition, people can just go and borrow and pay them back. And on top of that, the society did make a shift towards focusing on education because a typical college graduate has a higher earning potential compared to someone who only graduated high school. Now that is a decent metric, but a lot of people overestimate the return they can get from a college degree. See, the in-demand occupations usually have a decent return on investment on these degrees. But to have a balanced society, we also need people to pursue musics, arts, and other fields which might not end up being that lucrative. But that does not mean that the cost of getting the same 4-year degree in that lower paying field is any cheaper than the one in the higher paying field. Not to mention that other than the field of study, a lot of people also pay a premium for the college's reputation and name. On the grand scheme of things, for the average person, it doesn't really matter that much if you go to your local community college or a private college with a big name. And sure, some Ivy League schools do hold sort of a monopoly on the highest paying jobs, but looking at the top 1% of college graduates, it has overall pushed the limits of what people expect after graduation, which plays a massive part in setting unrealistic expectations on return of investment on these degrees, and usually end up with people paying a lot more for a degree than what's its actual worth. Like any other business, supply and demand is still a vital factor in determining how much we pay for college. If the students realize the worth of a degree and move away from taking cheap but massive amounts of debt, colleges will be forced to reduce costs, which will at least help in reducing this trend of increasing prices. Not to mention the unrealistic demand from a bunch of employers nowadays, where they want people to have degrees before they even give out entry-level jobs. So there are some major flaws in this whole system, and all of them in one way or the other are contributing to these high prices. Let me know what do you think we should be paying for college tuition. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.